Welcome to Season 5 of the Get Set podcast, an Old Girls Entertainment production. We are so happy to be here on the pod today sharing our experiences as women in the TV and film industry. Today on the pod, we have a guest whose job title we actually haven't had on here before. We're very excited to lean into all things assistant director, or you may know it as an AD. Your hosts today are myself, Monique Schwaneman, and
me, Jessica Payne, and our guest today is DGA AD Leslie Merlin.
Hey, how are you guys?
Woohoo!
Good. And for those of you who don't know, DGA stands for Directors Guild of America. So yes, welcome to the pod, Leslie. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah, yes. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, and it is the DGA is the union for directors, including assistant directors or ADs. Leslie and I met on an indie film where we worked on for a month last year. And Leslie has been in the industry since 2007 and has worked on projects such as Tropic Thunder, Royal Pains, Modern Family, and so much more. And one thing I love about your story, Leslie, is that it echoes so many other people's experiences in the industry and that it's not been a direct, speedy path to the top or in a forward direction.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we love, we're going to really dig into all the stories. Love it.
Yeah, definitely from the streets.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's get started with at your beginning. So in your own words, who are you and where do you call home?
I'm Leslie Merlin. I'm originally from New York, from Long Island, but I moved to California after I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design in 2004. And I now call Los Angeles home, and it will forever be my home and my little bubble. For sure.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
so how did you start into the industry, and did you always want to be an AD?
I always knew I wanted to be in film. When I saw Back to the Future and that movie I remember that's the first movie I really remember going to the theater for. And that just kind of expanded my horizons in a way that I didn't really know. I came from a family of divorce and movies and entertainment, and Disney was kind of like a little happy place. I would wake up and just want to turn on the TV and mousercise and that escapism and anything of that nature. And then the older I got in high school, I wasn't the best student, but I was a hard worker. And I had this one art teacher. His name is Mr. Treskin, and I had some learning disabilities that was found out later in high school. And he gave me a magazine called American Cinematographer, and he told me to do a report on it. And that's how they figured out I had some learning disabilities, was through this magazine. But it was an escape, and I started to do every art class. And I did this one art class called Motion Picture Television, and I made a little claymation movie. And from that was that. And I always knew. But I didn't know I wanted to be an AD. I never heard that title. I never knew anything. And then I was really into the TV show Roseanne. And I saw the first female director. Her name was Gail Mancuso, who ended up winning some Emmys on Modern Family with us. So it was a very full circle moment later.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know that an AD existed. So when I was going to college, I thought I was going to be a cinematographer. And that was what my degree was in. And specifically working with the Panther Dolly and trying to figure out camera motion and all that sort of stuff. And after I graduated college, I wanted to work in film. Couldn't find anything. And I ended up taking this free internship in New York City for this guy that worked in the film industry. And I'm air quoting that.
Oh, no.
And I was kind of cleaning his apartment and doing all this stuff.
Oh, no.
And I was borrowing money from my sister to take the subway and all this stuff, and was walking back, barely had money for food. Lunches and stuff, was just using the money to get back and forth to this free internship. And I was if you don't get me on something soon, just to try something. And he got me on this Spanish Latin music video where I met this second AD. And that was the first time I ever encountered an assistant director. And I came in as this intern, and I just stuck next to him because he was the one that was setting
running
all the
set.
people and doing all the cool things that I always envisioned this world to be. And afterwards, I exchanged my number with him. I expected him to call me the next day. I thought I was going to be on some movie the next day. And of course, nothing happened. And so I started applying for jobs online. I worked for a photographer for weddings for a hot second, taking off pimples of brides. Like I was taking anything that was coming my way.
Important work.
Like
Very
holding,
important work.
Yeah, like holding cameras, like anything to hold a camera. And I applied for a job online for Royal Caribbean International, what I thought was to film their commercials. And I ended up getting a job working on a cruise ship. And I signed a 4-month contract to live on the Monarch of the Seas to be a broadcast technician, because in my mind I was holding a camera.
Yeah.
And like a month and a half into the contract, I get a phone call while I was living on the ship. I was going from Ensenada, Catalina Island, and San Diego. It was my first time flying to the West Coast, but it was to get on a cruise ship. So I did that for a month and a half. And while I was on the ship, I get a phone call from that second AD from that Spanish Latin music video saying he was starting a movie in New York. And if I was really serious about everything I talked about on set, I would leave this cruise ship, because he tracked me down on a cruise ship, and I would, have to interview for this job. And I didn't really know if I had it. So I flew to New York, and it ended up being a movie called Gardener of Eden. And it was produced by Leonardo DiCaprio and all the guys from Entourage, Kevin Conley's directorial debut. And I was hired as a set PA. 2 days into the project, the guy that hired me, that second AD, got fired, and they asked me to replace him. I had never been on set before, never done anything. And I just shook my head no and kind of said yes. And I was handed the call sheet and the production report and told to take care of the cast. And I did that project. The first AD was a man named Chris Sargent, who is a very, very big, prominent AD in New York. And he was best friends and roommates with this guy named Doug Plass. So I was in New York doing this project in Staten Island, and I just wanted to be in California. So I took that paycheck and I flew to California. Chris gave me 3 names. One of them being Chris, one of them being this woman named Lisa, and I forget who the third contact was. And I moved in with my roommates from college with this paycheck, and I just called those 3 contacts. And then I got 4 days on the original L Word as a PA.
Great.
From that show ended. 4 days turned into I did 3 episodes with them, and was just a PA running set, lockups, nothing crazy at all. That project ended and I heard nothing from anyone. So I started tape logging at ABC, just behind the desk for the editors, and I hated it. And I was like, I think I'm about to go to New York, back again. And I called Chris, and he was like, well, come back if you need to, but try Doug one more time. So I emailed Doug, and then I got a call for 3 days on Spider-Man 3. And that turned into 4 months.
That's great.
They took me to New York. While I was in New York, I was working with, Doug didn't go to New York, but another AD named Bill Purple, who is a big director now he directed New Girl and all those TV shows. He was in New York on Spider-Man 3, and I was there. And then 2 weeks into that, I get a call from Doug being like, I just talked to Bill. I have a movie starting back in LA. You need to come back. So I flew back to LA and I started doing Drill Bit Taylor. Then I did Blades of Glory and was staffed on all the movies that came after Spider-Man 3.
Amazing.
That is incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
But that was the start of it. It came from a cruise ship to California.
Hold up. Jess and I are crowdfunding for our first feature.
That's right. Our 1970s period piece about how my mom was denied a line of credit simply for being a woman.
And then writing a news-breaking article about it in her local paper before the Equal Credit Opportunity Act passes is coming to be.
Yep. And you can visit the link in our show notes or in our Instagram bio of Old Girls Entertainment to see how you can share and get involved and be a part of our Seed and Spark campaign.
So please go do that. And now we're back to our normally scheduled programming.
That's right. It's a good one. So how long did it take you from PA to then work your way up to AD?
From 2007 until about 2014.
Crazy. So 7 years essentially.
So in order to get into the union, you need 600 PA days. And to collect, it's not hours. When someone's like, I need 40 hours as a whatever that is, 600 hours as a doctor, it's really not that hard to collect that. But days, there's only so many days in a year. You subtract out the weekends, you subtract out the holidays, And then you subtract out the like hiatus weeks or like waiting to have to like find the next job. It's really not that many days of work. Like in a month, there's 20 days realistically of work.
Right.
5, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah. Is there a certain time frame you have to do those 600 days within?
No, you could collect them. You can take 50 years to collect them. But once you collect those 600 days, you have to turn that into the Directors Guild, and then you're put on the third area qualifying list. So there's Los Angeles is one zone, New York is one zone, and then everywhere else in the country is considered the third zone. And you have to work outside of the two main zones, collecting another 450 days before you can fully work in Los Angeles and New York. So it's a really, really long path. And I'm at the very tipping point of my third area to be able to work fully on any project anywhere. Yeah. So even though I'm in, I'm still needing other variables to be able to, finish off the union requirements.
Yeah.
In theory, like in total, it's about a 10 to 15 year process.
It's absolutely insane and crazy. And it's funny, when I first started, I was like, oh, AD, like, as a set PA, I'm working next to the AD. I'm like, I think I could probably do this. This could be like a decent option as like maybe a backup plan if I don't want to go into writing directing. It's not a backup plan to actually pursue it. At least if you want to be a part of the union. And there's non-union work that you can do as an AD. But to be a part of the union with, all of those workers' rights and everything, like you really,
protection.
Yes, it's crazy. And let's just take it back a little bit. What is an AD and like, what do they do on set?
So you have 3 levels of assistant director work. You have the bottom rung is the second AD. And they are the ones that are basically right next to the first AD. On set, running the background, making sure that like the on-set needs for the first AD are taken care of. They are dealing with the check-in of like backgrounds. A lot of times they're dealing with the movement of people. They're dealing with the actual crew, like where to put things, how to do things. The first AD is like literally looking to the second to be able to help maintain set duties and responsibilities.
Right.
Above that, even though the title sounds higher, the second AD is the one that is physically doing more of the office work. They are the ones usually like directly in the trailer doing the call sheets, which means making sure that everything for the logistics for the physical day of filming, the prep, and everything for the event schedule is all discussed with all the department heads so that you know the exact number of crew, equipment, everything else that's needed. Then you have the first AD that's basically taking the entire script with the director, breaking it down, and making the entire schedule for the entire production, whether that be a movie that could be 60 days, that could be a docuseries or a drama episodic. And then you have cross-boarding episodes. So sometimes you have 2 first ADs that are working every other episode. And so they had their own team of people as well. The other position that you can have is an additional second that is technically the ADPA that's running Basecamp. Because anytime that you have contracts with talents, it has to be an assistant director that's like technically signing off on that paperwork. So main talent, like principal talent at the trailers of Basecamp, there's usually another AD that's there to help collect those people. A lot of projects got away with like PAs doing that job because they're at their like last step before they're going into the position of being AD and they're trusted. And then the very, very top that you go to after you complete 400 days as a first AD is the unit production manager. And that is the top tier in the DGA.
I think that's so important for actors to know is that the person, even when you're background, the person that you're checking in and out of, so that would be the second AD.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. And this person is they could be working towards being an AD. And so I think that sometimes people could think that like, oh, this is just a PA, but like, no, you have just reiterating, you have to treat everybody kindly. You have to treat everyone with respect, you know?
Certain projects will have a PA doing it. Certain projects will have an AD doing it. If it's commercials, you'll always have an AD doing it. But if it's a TV show, like when I was on Modern Family, I was technically a title of a production assistant on that. But I was doing AD level work, and they were willing to work with me doing it because I was third area. I was like trying to accomplish these things. I've also worked with that team of people. The cast also did not want me leaving. So there are certain things that occur. And now, even now where I am in my work is I work with a specific actress that put me in her contract to make sure that I am there on certain things. Now, just because she wants me there doesn't mean that other shows don't have those people in those positions. So there's a lot of discussion sometimes and negotiation that has to occur for that. Every project runs slightly different, but
that's a big win though, that someone puts you in their contract.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely thing to be able to get phone calls, but that doesn't mean
because if they're working, you're working.
Right. But if the producers have certain things or certain people already there, it's just a conversation of that, you know?
Yeah. Also, you know, we have that full department essentially. And then at the base level of that department, you have your set PAs who are assisting the assistant directors with all the different things.
I will fully say they're probably more important than anything else.
They're so important.
They're a lot. Yeah.
Everyone should be nice to everyone. Side note.
It's
an important side note.
If I don't have a good team of PAs working with me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Everything else, like you need the first AD and the PAs kind of to be the best because I need the schedule and the communication, and then I need the PAs to back up everything.
Well,
the in between is there, you know.
You know, you have this whole department that really is. I mean, we're all running set, you know, so we kind of set the tone. I mean, obviously, 100%. You have the director and you know the actors and everything who aid in that tone, but you know they come and go depending on if it's a film, it's a little different. You know, they're probably running the show a bit more, or at least they're more consistently than if they were on a TV show. You know, you're as a crew member, you're there the entire time.
Yeah, I run by 3 mottos that like I feel like I've just been taught throughout like my childhood is you attract more bees with honey than vinegar. Dominoes go down, not up, and the tortoise won for a reason. Yeah. So whatever tone I'm projecting as the assistant director is what the set tone is going to be. Yep. And I really try to go in and like within, I think I said it to you, if I can't crack a joke with someone within the first 5 minutes, it's never going to happen.
Right.
So I go in like, you know, part of the responsibility of the second is also you're responsible for the hair, makeup, and wardrobe department. They have their own team of people and they have their department head. But I technically need to run them to make sure that the chairs and the clothes and everything are being set and how I would like the rhythm of the cast to go through that process. Yeah. They don't tell me, I tell them.
Right.
So I have to, like on commercials, I've never met half these people. I've never met the actors. I've never met the team of hair and makeup. I've never met this. Like I just did a 3-day shoot. I've never met any of them. And I had to go in and get 29 people in like colonial wear. So,
oh my gosh,
with wigs, and it was a 2.5 hour process for everyone. And I went in, like the first thing I go into the trailer is, hey, I'm Leslie. I'm your second or second AD. I was the second AD on this one. I'm your second AD on this. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you get home to your family at a decent time tonight. So let's work together to make that happen. And that's the first thing I will say to them. So the tone is already set that like, I'm not here. I'm not going to push you. And I say it always is my voice will never go above this. Me yelling at you isn't going to you're not going to bring me the fork faster when we need the lunch break. Like if I ask a set PA to make someone a salad for an actor because that's what they want for lunch, I don't want the little bowl. Like stop and make it as if you were making it for yourself. Go a little slower because they'll appreciate it a little better. Like me putting a coffee maker in hair and makeup trailer, like it's a guide for them to go straight to the hair and makeup trailer as opposed to them going to, and I say that as soon as I get out of the car, like I'm like, hey guys, coffee's ready and hair and makeup. If you go in there, I'll meet you for breakfast. But I'm not going to walk into breakfast hot when they're in the makeup chair. You can't eat. But guess what? You can eat when you're doing your hair. So I, on Modern Family, would have the window shades a little cracked open because I could see the mirrors and I could see reflections of the mirrors, and I could see when people were getting up and moving, and that's when food would come in as soon as they would go to the hair chair, because I don't want them leaving. So it's all about like an anthropological study of human movement.
Yeah.
Like that's my entire job. It's
I
just
also
so as soon as like Eric would step out, I can't have Eric and Ty getting a haircut at the same time. But I don't want to lose that 4 minutes of time. So as soon as Eric's standing up, I was already inviting Ty. So it was like a natural, like one went out, one went in kind of thing.
Yeah. And
So
I
it's
think
that.
too, it's really commendable that you have such an even tone in that the thing with ADs, and there's a reason why they get stressed out. Like it makes sense. But the thing with ADs is you're in charge of the schedule and the time and making sure everything comes together right precisely when everything needs to be together.
Correct.
And part of that, of making that time, is making sure that the actors are being worked on while crew's getting set up and getting the lights going and people are happening, you know, all these different, and sounds doing their thing, and like everyone's able to come together and it all meets exactly at the right time. So you're not wasting time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're also in charge of safety. So
100%.
those are two of the biggest things is safety and time, and time of course is money. And so it's a very stressful job. So being able to like step back and be like,
been on set with accidents and been there, and it's I mean, just there's a first AD that's still in jail from the Sarah Jones situation. There's two producers that are in jail, and I actually worked on a set with Sarah Jones. I didn't know her personally, but I worked with...
Wait, what's the Sarah Jones situation?
So Sarah Jones was a camera operator, and this happened in 2019. She was working on a project in Georgia, and it was based on it was supposed to be the Greg Allman biopic, and they were filming on a train track, and the producers and the first AD said that they had lockups on the train track and that they were permitted to be on there. They were not, and a train came barreling through, and she was unfortunately killed. And so there is a safety on set that has been in standards since she passed away, and it's called the Sarah Jones Initiative. Her parents go yearly on the day of her death to different sets, and there's like moments of silence that occur for it. But the first AD is responsible for the entire safety of that set. He was the one that is supposed to say that normally when you do train lockup specifically, because I have been on sets with trains, you have to have from a mile in either like direction with PAs down the row about a quarter mile apart because of both walkie reception and also the length of how long it takes for a train to stop and us to get off the track. If God forbid, even though we know we're permitted to be off of that, there's a certain level of safety that comes with that. And unfortunately in that, they didn't. And the one thing that is responsible for set safety is the first AD. And they are the standard for everything. So if, God forbid, anything happens, it always goes through the assistant directing department. And it's unfortunate. And there was a couple of hair and makeup and a couple of other crew members that were badly injured as well. So it's not something that's taken lightly. And, you know, it's something that is just a horrible, unfortunate situation that occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important to know that, like, how much responsibility that your team members hold. Even if it seems like a normal dance, I know Jessica just did like an overnight shoot and, you know, in downtown with lots of cars going in and out. Like there are so many safety requirements for even a car driving down a street that, like, as an audience member, you wouldn't even think that, you know, there could be, you know, there are 50 upward, you know, and more people on set, and it, you know, everyone is at risk, and that's so many people to look out for. But like you do communicate and pick up on things and realize things earlier and set that tone.
Yeah, I mean, as a first AD, you're the one also, like, if you're going out on the street, you're talking to the ITC officers, which are the police officers that are hired from production through the, you know, Beverly Hills City or the city departments that you're working with. So you're given, and if you're driving around, you're given a certain number of police officers to make sure that it is safe for you to do that. I am sitting there discussing like maps and routes and stuff with actual police officers. I'm not talking about it with physical like production people. These are real police officers that are working with us to make sure that we're not just safe for us, but that we're safe for the city when we're doing these things. We have to go around, like, there are sometimes like explosions. When I did Live Free or Die Hard, we were downtown doing crazy explosions down there, fast and furious, like they're big explosions. You don't want like a building that didn't know you were filming there to think something, God forbid, is actually like real. So it's also not just for our safety, but it's for the safety of the city we're filming in. In New York City with Spider-Man, we had a huge crane coming down as if it was Sandman's arm, like knocking out buildings and stuff. Like, you don't want someone popping out of the subway without realizing as they're stepping out. That's why you have PAs there being like, hey, we're filming here. This isn't, so people don't think it's real. You have people with fake guns and you have to like make sure they're not loaded.
Or be where they shouldn't be either, One thing with like the downtown thing that I just did at 4 a.m., that's when all the like, people who may have had drugs or whatever are kind of tweaking out and coming out of the corners, and we're having to,
unpredictable things.
Right, exactly. Talk to them. And I mean, if it's sometimes like an unruly person, you get, If there's an unruly person, you get the police who are there. Yeah. But like if we have a car barreling through, we've got to communicate that on walkie and say, hey, we got to,
even just driveways, you want to make sure that like nothing's open. So you hire, I mean, on Dark Knight Rises, we had 60 PAs.
Crazy.
That was for every block, there was 5 people and there was a team leader for each PA.
That's
so
crazy.
For every 5, there was 1, and we were filming at night, and it's because we were having like the bat car or the motorcycle or whatever. It was like on the top of Grand Avenue, like going over the thing. Like, you don't want that random pedestrian like just popping out of the woodworks out of nowhere, like that homeless.
And somehow when you're filming, they find the spots.
They just pop out.
They
like there's no one for like 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you're like rolling, and you're like, hold, person.
Where the F did that person come from?
And then the AD's like, where was that driveway the whole time? And you're like, I don't know. And like, it is what it is sometimes.
They find the secret doors and passageways.
It's a lot of that. And it's just a lot of communication. It's really what it is. But like, if you're panicking and freaking out, then your entire team is panicking and freaking out. So like, you still have to like hold that demeanor the whole time that like everything's cool, But I mean, I've traveled. I've been in foreign locations, having to work with other ADs that are translating things in different languages that I'm saying.
Wow.
So like in Paris in Italy, like, just having to whatever, like, in Paris, we would have an American channel on the radio, and then there was the French channel. And the first AD for whatever we had, they had. So we had an American first AD, there was a French first AD, second, second. And whatever I was saying was being translated to that department as well, because there was a key for each department in a different language. Now, when it came time to the production report, I had in Italy on Angels and Demons, I was working with a PA named Paolo, who translated all my paperwork into Italian, because I don't know how to write Italian, and I don't know how to translate any of that, but we just had to work together and like communicate. And I had to trust that like the communication breakdown of these set lockups weren't weird. So when I was in Italy, they told me not to lock up at all, because how I was translating things wasn't the same to the actual public there. So for safety, they actually pulled me out of a lockup for that. And they're like, you know what, just stick with the paperwork on this one. Like, we got it, because like you're not translating it correctly and people are not going to stop for you. Right. I was like, I don't want to worry about that. So I'm going to go into the gelato stand and work on the paperwork.
For those, the gelato stand's always the place to be.
I mean,
for those, nice. For those safety standards and precautions, does the DGA have a section of their website that kind of has those? Because okay, because I was a producer on like a small like indie short film. The budget was like $25,000.
That sounds right.
Yeah, we had a process trailer, and
there was a safety packet.
Oh, we had like a film permit.
Yeah.
We have the contract, we have the driver, we have everything we thought we were supposed to need. We were on a closed road, not a through street, like a cul-de-sac off the freeway.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, this is all we need. We go in there and the guy's like, yeah, well, I can't move this process trailer without a police officer.
Right.
And we're like, but in the contract you didn't say you needed that. And he's like, yeah, but it's standard. You should know.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? So where can you, so to avoid those moments, and like I called somebody, luckily I worked for the city of LA, and I called the film office directly and I was like, I need a police officer in the Mojave Desert right now. And so they were, well, I didn't scream,
there.
but yeah, no, but they came out, we got somebody, because I like to say I can pull through as a producer, but you know what, I don't want to go through those moments ever again. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can definitely go on the DGA website, and there's definitely the booklet of all articles that get attached to call sheets. So if you're doing drone work, smoke work, water work, or anything of that nature, like you usually print those out and attach it to the call sheet. But if you're a producer, usually like it's either on the DGA website or even on the film permit sites, you can have discussions with them about like, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Like you could do a poor man's process trailer, like you can have it moving. There's different levels of that work. But the website has all of those safety standards and what's needed and what's required to do that level of work. Because even doing like helicopter work, like you need 2 helicopters for that. You're usually shooting the helicopter that like the people are in, and then you have the camera helicopter that's like following. Or you like, it depends what kind of work. So, you know, there's different levels if you're doing 2 choppers together versus just like a camera chopper going on its own.
And if you're filming 2 choppers in one shot, you at least need
dangerous.
3.
Well, that's more dangerous because you're having a camera chopper following something else in the air and whatever that is. So you have the pilots that, like, you also have to work with the pilots to get their permits, and it's a whole, it takes a hot second to get it all together, but it's nice to know.
Yeah, it's nice to know that there's the literature available to be able to see what exactly is needed, especially on the small sets that, you know, aren't union, you know, that they can still and should still be safe for everyone. And then, so what's the difference between an AD and the UPM? What does the UPM do versus the ADs?
What's a UPM?
Unit Production Manager.
Yeah, they're the top of the
taking notes
department.
Yeah, so the AD is the one that is given the script. They are breaking that down. They are figuring out from the departments with the DP, going on the location scouts and all that sort of stuff. The unit production manager is basically making sure that the budget for that specific project is managed. So again, it's still managing people and discussion of personnel and overage and meal penalties and can you not. And the unit production manager is working with the line producers and the showrunners and everything else of that nature to make sure that it's all like they're the like liaison between the last of the set requests and almost like the producers' needs and stuff.
Yeah. And that's why they're,
as an AD, I just need to tell you, I need 5 PAs.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I need to make this happen.
Yeah.
Now, what you want to do, if that's too much, then we need to discuss the scene and make it only work in a corner versus the car moving. But that's now a discussion, and I can't deal with the producers on every single thing. So that's my go-to person almost.
And that's why you guys are all in the same department as well, because again, ADs are in charge of like the schedule and then on the ground sort of stuff. And so
they're getting that approved almost.
Right.
You know, like,
and the schedule then it relays to money. So that's why. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Time is money.
Everything. So I've even explained it to Cass this way, that like, if I invite you from your trailer 6 times and you choose to take 10 minutes each time, that's an hour wasted of me just waiting for you to move. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. That's 1 hour.
Yep.
And that's only 6 times I'm asking you to leave your trailer. So you have to have the trust in me that like we are ready and that I'm not the boy who cried wolf and calling you in too early every single time.
Mm-hmm.
and that we meet. Otherwise, it's a meal penalty if we don't get that shot before lunch.
Yep.
We have to, you know, so, and I
And
have
a
to go to
meal
the
penalty
UCM.
workers, the meal penalties are pricey, which means that they get paid a good amount, a good chunk of money if they're late to lunch. So again, money.
Yes, it's
Now
all money. Yeah.
it's all money. Now, what's the difference between commercial TV and film? Because there's a lot of different, I guess, like dynamics with everything. Like I had said before, where film, you're going to have your same director all the way through. TV, if it's like a standard TV, usually the directors are cycled through every week or every episode. So typically. So what's the difference between a commercial TV and film in the way set is run
So
in the AD department?
movies and TV are narrative, and commercials are usually not narrative. So the way that you break down the call sheets and the shot lists are different. When I go in as a second AD on a commercial, I have no prep. It's only the first AD that goes on the scouts and has the prep. I go in as a second AD. I have to set up base camp usually myself and make sure that the PAs are setting up wardrobe tents and makeup tents and everything. And it's a very like almost more guerrilla style of shooting as opposed to a movie. You kind of have the locations departments and a little bit more of these departments that go in the day before and kind of preset things because it's usually a little bit more needed for like you have more trailers and things of that nature usually. Specifically on television, as a second or second AD, you have on movies you have one first AD, you have one second AD, you have one second the entire run of the show. On TV, you tend to have two first ADs because you're doing every other episode, the same second AD and the same second. So you have to also learn every first AD likes their set sometimes a little bit different, you know. Commercials are usually only like 2 days to 10 days long. So you're just kind of like learning this one person for a shorter period of time. But it's mostly like on commercials, there's no main scripts to break down. You're at those locations very briefly. It's a quick in and out, usually a little bit more guerrilla. And then the other projects, you have like just a bit more support on from each department to be able to make this stuff happen. It really just kind of varies on also the budget for everything. And
Yeah.
I could have a script with 2 actors for an entire movie, or I could have an entire script with 50 actors and 600 background every day. So
Yeah.
how I logistically plan for those 2 movies would also be very different. I could also have a movie that's in one house, one room, like that movie that they did with Tom Hanks, where it's like one place. That was pretty easy. Like versus having to move locations every day, requiring more staff, more needs, more. So there is a difference, but there's an overlaying way that you do the same that you do on one thing is an overlay for it all, but you have to deal with each situation separately.
Yeah, like what does the scene need?
Just
And what are the requirements?
Yeah, like on the project that we did, Jess, we were at one house for
Most
30 days or 20 days, and then we were out for like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so when we went out, it was like, what is this world? Like, what do you mean we need chairs? Like, you know, like we were so set in this one house for so long. So, you know, when we went out, it was just me and you on that project at that house. But when we went out, we were like, okay, we need like 2 more PAs to like drive this thing because we have 2 more vehicles, different needs.
Who makes those hiring decisions? Does the director hire like the first AD and second AD, or does the first hire the second and the second hires the PAs?
The director will bring in their first AD that they like, and it's up to the first AD to find their staffing. They'll find the second AD, and then from the second AD, it usually like goes from there. But the director will usually bring in the first AD. First AD hires the second that they like, and then they'll tell their second to find the staff that they want to work with on this. And then usually I walk into the set and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Leslie," to the first AD, and they're like, "Pleasure to meet you," or "Great to see you again."
Nice.
You know, whatever the variable is. And then sometimes you get calls from producers. Like I get called as a second now, sometimes from producers that I've worked with that were like, hey, are you available for this? I got this small thing coming up. Or I recently did an Adidas commercial that a producer from a Home Depot commercial was like, my friend's looking for someone. It's like, great. So it's just word of mouth. Like I tell anyone that's starting up PA wise, or even myself, I have to tell myself again that like, once I get on set, like it's just, I'll say yes to everything in a sense. I never know who I'm going to meet. I don't know who I'm going to be standing next to at Crafty. I don't know who that actor is. Maybe they're secretly working on a project. Like you just don't know. So I'd rather keep the faucet dripping of stuff coming in than like shut it off completely. You just never know. And once you get that first job, it's usually like something like this. Like I met Jess on this. I'm calling her when I needed someone on a project. Yep. She's either available or not. From there, she could come on my set and then meet 2 other PAs or ADs that are now looking for something. And she just met 4 people out of the 1 person she worked with. So that's how when people are like, how does that networking web go? On every project, you have 3 ADs. Usually they all go to separate projects. 3 turns into 3, 6, 9, 12 people all of a sudden that you could be working for when you only came in knowing 1.
Which also, just to say, it's so interesting because this industry is, well, it's crazy anyways, especially like nowadays. As like I worked on a show for 2 seasons and I loved it. I was like, this is so nice to have guaranteed, a guaranteed income. Yeah. And like, and work coming through. And, between the 2 seasons, there was actually the strike, the writers and actors strike. But then I knew I had show to come back to, which was so nice. But then after that, they got canceled. That show did. And so after that, I was kind of scrambling because my contacts were that show for 2 seasons. I mean, longer than 2 years because we had that strike in the middle where no one was really working, at least not union jobs. So I was a little bit like, oh, shoot, like I got to pull back my, through all my contacts and everything. And I know you had that, not exactly that issue, but I mean, you were on Modern Family for a hot minute. For how many seasons?
Yes. Season 3 to season 11. So
wow,
10 years.
10 years. So,
but I worked in between all of that. So the way that I got on that show was there's an assistant director. Her name's Helena Lamb. I did Eddie Murphy movie with her, and then she jumped on Modern Family. But I had done this. There was like a 3-year span in between that I was doing features and stuff. But when she called me for Modern Family, I thought I was only going to do 1 season of it to run first team. And she called me. She said, it's a really large cast. We need your help on this to like kind of reset the situation that was going on. And I really thought I was only going to do 1 season. And then unfortunately, I had a personal injury where I broke my arm terribly, my humerus in half. And I have a rod and like some stuff going through there. And I was supposed to go do the movie The Help in Mississippi. And I had to turn it down because of my surgeries and stuff. So what I thought 1 season after, I thought that first, as soon as they were breaking from Modern Family that summer, that's when I was supposed to leave to go do The Help. And I broke my arm in February. I was supposed to leave for The Help in the beginning of April. So when I broke my arm, I needed 5 surgeries. I knew I couldn't do it. So 1 season turned into, Modern Family was amazing because they wanted me to stay, but I was the one that was kind of like giving a little pushback on it. And when I broke my arm, they were like, we're good with however you come into us. We would love to have you back the following season. And I went back for season 2 for me, which was their season 4. And then after that season, the showrunner pulled me into his office and he asked me to stay for the remainder of the series. And so I didn't know how long that was going to be. Obviously, at that time, we were only going into season 5. And I said yes because they helped me through a really personal injury. They were amazing. And I started to get really, really close with the cast and the kids and everyone in between. They really, really became my family. And then season 7, I asked all the cast to help me with my proposal video. And at the season 7 wrap party, the gag reel came on. My proposal came on the gag reel, and I proposed to my wife in front of the entire cast and crew and everyone. And my engagement picture is that one behind me.
I love it.
And then I got married a year after, and they all came to my wedding, and I went to their weddings and their things. And in between the summers of Modern Family, I went with Jesse, who played Mitch, to New York 2 summers and helped him while he was doing Broadway shows. I did the TV show Room 104 on another hiatus with 2 of the ADs, Jason Kemp and CeCe Mack, because they went to do that. I did the TV show You Were the Worst on one of the hiatuses. I went to New York, I did Royal Pains on one of the hiatuses. So my network was strong enough at the time that like I could still reach out to people and not be afraid. And also the way that we filmed on Modern Family, we filmed 3 weeks out of the month, and then we had a week off every month. So early on in the seasons, I wasn't necessarily getting a paycheck on that week off, and I was still needing pay. So I would go work on other shows. And then there was a stint on Modern Family that was 6 weeks long that I went straight from the Modern Family set to the Dark Knight Rises set at night. And I was double dipping, and I was doing both shows at the same time. So crazy. I just kind of kept my friends in my network. And if I told you how many contacts I had in my phone, you would probably throw up. So and the way I say people in my phone is your first name, your department, and the project I worked with you on. So if I need to reach out to ADs, I just type in AD in my phone, and I have about close to 400 contacts in there.
Crazy. Love it.
So when I moved back, because me and my wife, we moved to Savannah for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. When I moved back, I had to put my big girl pants on, which was really scary. And I was very nervous about reaching back out to people who I hadn't talked to since Modern Family Wraps.
Yeah.
COVID happened. I moved out of state. That was gone for 2 years. So for some people, it was a good 10 or 11, 12 years since I had talked to them. And there are certain actors that I reached back out to, and just it was really terrifying to redo that again. But now that I've been back, the ball has been rolling again.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Just getting the contacts out, and just the same hope that I had when I was 18 years old or 20 years old, is that like I could just get on a set, do my job, do what I have always done, meet the people, and then hope that they call me again.
Love it. I love it. What about?
It's been a long road.
It's such a long road.
22 years since I've graduated.
Crazy.
I graduated in 2004. So it's 2024, 22 years since I graduated college.
Yeah.
And I just got invited to my 25th high school reunion.
Stop. Are you going to go?
Of course, yeah. But, all the people that were like, you sure you want to do this? I mean, even my family, I had to pay for college on my own because they didn't think this was real. My brother and sister are lawyers, and, they went through it, and, it took a long time for them to understand that this was like a real job.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just like a thing, or like when you would turn the TV on and they were like, well, that's just a commercial. I'm like, well, someone has to make it. That's supposed to be me. Like, why can't
truly people have to make it?
But like coming from a family of doctors and lawyers and very like type A style, having that like I definitely fit that like I'm out of the closet. I'm all these things that like just wasn't that. And so just having to really, once I got on, they didn't know what the L Word was, even though it was on Showtime. Yeah. They didn't know those like little indie like music videos or Gardener of Eden. They didn't know that, but Spider-Man 3, they knew.
Yes.
Yeah. I bet.
And then also, I mean, first ADs, correct me if I'm wrong, they get residuals on things,
that's a very lovely thing that they get. Yes.
Right.
First
so
ADs
I mean,
and UPMs get residuals.
Right.
Honestly, when you can get into the Directors Guilds, the medical is the same as if it was a better president, but like the level of like medical is like almost like governmental. Like, you are really, really, really protected in this union, and the hours, the money. If I get to work too early, if I leave too late, I get meal money. After you finish a project, you get a completion of assignments, which is that you completed the assignments and you get like a little extra paycheck from that. So there's just a lot of care that's given to the ADs when we travel, where we sit on airplanes, how many hours we need off in between is through our union protection.
As it should be, because again, the level of stress that's on, that whole department is insane. Like, I mean, I know that some people can carry it better than others, but I mean, it's crazy. Like,
when I was on
there's so much.
When I had to fly to Italy for Angels and Demons, I wasn't given the script until like an hour before I got on the plane, and I had to sign. I was working on another project. I was always supposed to do the Los Angeles portion of that, but never supposed to go to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was waiting for them to come back, and I was working on second unit, and my entire flight was reading the script to know what I was walking into, because I was being flown out, and that was a very, very unique situation. I was flown out as a production assistant on that project because the ADs were under the gun. They were only on the second unit. It was only the first and the second AD. They didn't have any American PAs with them to help them. Mm-hmm. Where the first unit had a lot more support, and the second unit, they were doing stunt work. So I was asked to come out to help Doug, who I had met on Spider-Man. I had done a couple projects with him at this point to help him like with some of the paperwork side of it, because he was getting underwater on it because he couldn't physically be on set with the first and doing all the paperwork. And I knew how to do the paperwork. So when I got flown out, it was a very, very unique situation. And I also, overtime and weekend work and stuff like that was starting to get very heavy on the ADs. So I was the one that was setting up like the aerial units and stuff like that, and got to go in the choppers and do things that like wasn't necessarily like PA level work. But it was, I didn't know what I was walking into until I was met at the airport from the office PA. I signed my NDA, signed my paperwork at the airport. He handed me the script and I got on the plane.
Crazy.
And read the script. So where I was sitting was very nice because it was like,
and you have that cinematography background, so it must have been so cool to see and help coordinate like how all that
I was young and just unknown, or even on like Tropic Thunder running all the, like I was 24, like, having to do all this stuff, and
fearless.
It was just having to put on the pants and just do it. Even the first time I was asked if I knew how to run background, I shook my head no, and I said yes. I was like, just show me the paperwork once.
Yes.
If I do it wrong, I'll never do it again. But if I do it right, and that was what I was given on Spider-Man 3, was to help check in the background. I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
How do you handle the stress of being an AD and also, and maintaining a life as a parent as an AD? Because your hours could be, it could be 8,
I'm very
could be 16.
lucky that my wife works from home remotely. She works for a company and she's able to be at home. So I do have a slight helping hand with my daughter with that. And I don't have to worry if she's getting called out sick if I'm on set, which happened this week. Where
of course it did, as it does.
She's not taken care of. Sometimes the hardest part is, I'm sure you could see the gray hair in my head. Like,
I got it too.
Gray.
Yeah, we got it. We're all with that.
I think my younger version of myself definitely held the stress and fear a lot deeper than it does now. Yeah. I think post-COVID, post #MeToo, changed a lot of variables for women specifically. And myself being a lesbian on set, running usually a ton of guys, those white t-shirt jokes kind of dissipated. Those little like, can you do it kind of jokes dissipated, or the you're such a lesbian military jokes kind of dissipated. Now it just is who you are. I think also just the way you approach the set the first time is what you're going to get back as well. So if I'm extremely stressed and projecting that, everyone's going to give me their stress and I'm going to have to carry that weight. But if I can kind of alleviate by really prepping stuff out, that helps. The only stress I really feel as an AD is a lot of times on commercial work, because that's the least prep I usually have, or the least knowledge that I have going into it. But I've kind of told myself more recently, especially post-COVID, that I run cast mostly. Like, I'm usually the one by the trailers and base camp, specifically running talent. So no one's showing up at 5 o'clock in the morning not to get ready. And I'm just asking you to put your pants on. And I'm asking you to look good or beautiful or look like a zombie or have fun with it. Or like this last week, we were colonial soldiers. Like, everyone, as soon as those wig goes on, people usually get really into their characters. I mean, look, every couple times you get that like one bad whatever, and you just have to deal with it, and you know that you're probably never going to see him again. Like, is part of it. Like, these projects are short and fleeting for the most part. It's very, I feel so honored and lucky and grateful that I was on Modern Family. I think it had such a role in not just like film and cinema history, but actual history. We were a part of the first gay wedding. We were there when DOMA was abolished. I mean, people forget how recent that was. It was only 10 years ago when I was legally allowed to get married. So the fact that like all this stuff, like I remember when Jesse and Eric were being interviewed for Time magazine cover because of the stuff that was going on TV. I don't see that happening ever again. I don't see another TV show that's like 10 years long, or like I think one of the last shows that was like that deep was like Deep. You know, they had like a really good run of 6 years. Emily in Paris is hitting it. Like, they're about to hit their 6th season. Abbott Elementary is about to hit the 6th, but I think it's a 6 and split. Like, I don't see much more going past 6s anymore. The industry is definitely shifting. So I think I have always had a hard time personally. I don't know if that's the female energy of it or whatever it is, but when a project ends, I go through like a slight depression. I mean, even that short project that we did, Jess, I went through the like missing it phase. So the way I hold this stress now is I'm just asking you to like look good. The way that the film industry got big was through the Great Depression in the first place. Like, we're here to song, dance, and entertain. Movies weren't seen as anything other than like a propaganda thing before. The first time that like people wanted to go to the movie theater and see those gold coins dancing and outliving themselves was through the Great Depression. And then, you know, even people were like, once sound came in for the jazz singer, people were like, this isn't going to work. Like, no one's going to buy this. And now, like, you know, so.
And look at us now.
The industry is ever evolving. And, you know, I think honestly, my biggest stress now isn't the onset. It's the what ifs, the what's coming. I'm more stressed out about finding my next job. I'm more stressed out about AI, what that's going to do. I'm more stressed out about that. But the physicality of like making the projects, like, I'm not the one who wrote it. I'm not the one who created it. I'm not the one who's funding it, but I'm here to make it happen for you. And I'm going to give you the best version that I know how to do of breaking that down or getting these people to your sets. But
by the way, those are like,
I can't.
That is music to any creative's ears. Like, having people like you on their set that's like honoring what, you know, is trying to happen, which, I mean, it's just right. Like, we always have this like saying, right? It's like, it's just a movie. There's no need to, or a show. It's not really like that.
Jokes. Yeah.
Right. It's not like we're actually, you know, in an operating room, whatever. Like, we can chill a little bit, but it's also kind of a miracle because the amount of people that it takes to, you know, get everyone together, the effort and care that everyone has for their jobs, and then also the amount of money it takes to, or resources or time, like, it is like actually very special. So if you look at it in that way, I mean, you know, you, like you said, you're just like honoring, trying to get this work made. It's very special. It's a great mindset to be in.
I mean, I can only give you, if you give me the script and I'm breaking it down, this is my version of what the best version of it is. And how I would talk to any DP, grip, best boy, whoever it is, finding out if one days we need the techno cranes, the this, that, and the other, and the scouts. Like, none of that changes. Like, if you're putting me on a low budget, no budget, top budget, this, but like, you call me a production assistant director, there's still assistant in the title. You're going to get the same level of work out of it because I don't know how to lessen that. And I really do care for the art. I care for it all. I mean, I'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll get home at 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it needs to make it happen. But I can't. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely stressful moments on these sets. And like, when the walkies are going off and they're like, we need a no, you know, like all those like moments. I'll usually look at the person next to me and I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, like, we're doing the best we can, guys. Like, I've literally, he's in the bathroom. I've shouted through the door. He knows we are ready for him. Like, I cannot make him go any faster. So, and I think honestly, as you probably know from the project we worked on, I'm very over communicated. So if I know something, someone else should know it. And I also say if someone's eating on set, there's probably someone that doesn't know food is available. So like just that level of communication, there's nothing hidden.
Key.
There's nothing hidden. I'm not telling you they're not ready or they didn't show. Like, you know everything that I know. So if you have a better suggestion, then go for it. But this is it, you know?
Yeah.
And then regarding my family life, it's just sometimes the sleep patterns. My daughter's still in our bed. So just sleep.
I mean, same. Yeah.
Sleep. Or like, you know, I was on Griselda. I was in hotels a lot when she was only 6 months old, coming home on a Saturday at like 9 o'clock in the morning, rolling off a set and just wanting to sleep till like 9 p.m. Like, how do you get to the bank? How do you do those things? But luckily I'm with someone who's not in the industry and just gets it.
Yeah. Love it. Well, we're on our time. So
sure.
I've learned so much.
Yes.
Also, you're just amazing
honestly,
and you're just a great person. But like, thank you for walking us through all of this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could talk. You could take a 10-week course on this. I hate to say it that way.
100%.
Probably longer.
Yeah. I've written a 10-week course for it. So
wow,
we want it. We want to take it.
Yeah.
How can people find you if they want to follow your, like, do you let people in on social media?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I'm on Instagram just under Merlin82. Year I was born and last name, go figure. That's the
original
AOL times, when you're figuring that stuff.
Yes.
Oh, I'm still just Christine11, so it's
at least I'm not like hot girl like 82, whatever. But it's Merlin82 on Instagram. I do have a Canva site. I'm trying to work on some of my personal scripts. I mean, it's that same conversation of I'm working on my stuff and how do you make it happen for yourself? You make it for others, but what do you do?
And we will have.
Honestly, it's Facebook or Instagram, but
perfect.
It's kind of.
We'll have those linked down below as well for everyone to check out in our show notes.
Really quick, since you are writing stuff, like when you do get control of making, something that you originated, what is your favorite genre?
I'm writing something that's personal life story-ish, so that one's a little deeper, and then the other one's a little. I'm actually taking my love of movies and transpiring it to with what if didn't happen and you needed to know.
Great. Cool. Well, we can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much. This was awesome.
Yes, really thank you, Leslie. So much information. Now, go get set. The Get Set podcast is created, edited, and produced by Jessica Payne and Monique Schwaneman of Old Girls Entertainment. Original music composed by the incredibly talented Kyle Hall. You can follow him on his social media at Kyle Hall Music.
If you vibed with this episode and our mission of bringing to light different career paths within an industry, especially for women, subscribe, leave a review, and share us with a friend. Thanks, friend.